We are going to welcome everybody to this edition of Yakamashii. We have our wonderful in-person audience and our lovely Zoom audience. So welcome. My name's Deidre Teagarden. This is Melanie Agrabanti. And on behalf of all of us here at the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center, we are so thrilled to have yet another fantastic Yakamashii session with the ever effervescent, fabulous Kathy Collins. And her equally wonderful, talented, fantastic guest today, Eric Gilliom. So, thank you so much for being here. A couple of housekeeping items for people in the audience. If you are new to the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center, we hope that you will check us out on our website at nvmc.org and come and join us for future events. If you do need a ladies or men's room, they are right out there in the corridor, both marked. If you are on Zoom and you're joining us on Zoom, unfortunately, you can't enjoy the lovely coffee and tea bar we have here with Donna and Brenda. But thank you, very good. But you know, we hope that you get your very favorite beverage, and it can also be something other than coffee or tea because you're all in your homes. And join us. We will have time for question and answer at the end. So if you're on Zoom, just type your questions in and Melanie will be sure to ask those to Kathy and to Eric. And everybody else, just raise your hands. Have a wonderful time. Let's have a big round of applause for Kathy Collins and Eric Gilliom.
So I'm delighted to see return visitors and some new faces here. For some of you, I think this is your first time, including Eric, first time at the NVMC. Yakamashii, as I think many of you know, is the Japanese word meaning noisy, clamorous. And when Deidre approached me about doing a series of shows here at the center, that was the first word that came to mind because she said, well, we want something that's a little more fun, a little more informal, but still informative. And I thought, Yakamashii, because I decided to pick guests who would have things to say, boisterous folks, but in a joyful way. Joyful noise is what I would like to bring to you here at the center and online. So Eric has actually he has some surprising connections to the center, even though this is his first time here. I just want to start right off with it because I just think that's so cool. Yeah. So tell us what your personal connection is to the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say aloha to everybody here and out there in Tiki Land. And I do apologize. Had I known it was going to be this formal, I would have worn pants. So, in the spirit of my dad, Lloyd Gilliom, who would have worn shorts for sure. He sandblasted the sign that is out in front of here, and I remember him mentioning that at some point. When did this open?
We just celebrated our 10th anniversary.
Yeah, so it was
actually about 16 or 17 years.
Yeah. So as I remember, yeah, he had talked about having sandblasted this sign and a lot of signs around the island. Very often I will come across a county building sign or the War Memorial Gym sign, and I think a lot of those he did just as a gift to the community. So yeah, I definitely feel my dad's presence today.
Your dad had, what was it, Maui Monument?
Maui Monument and Granite, and his sandblasting company. So I might have even been the one that sandblasted the sign. I don't remember.
I was going to get to that because I know you helped your dad a lot in the business.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite job, but sandblasting was something that had to be done in order to be in the Gilliom family. Amy was the only one that escaped actually having to sandblast, but it was just part of being a Gilliom was being a sandblaster.
You addressed that in your show, White Hawaiian,
Yes.
which is just, we got to talk about White Hawaiian. And I'm curious to see how many people in our live audience have seen White Hawaiian.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Larry wants to raise
Oh,
3
thank you.
hands because he's seen it 3 times.
That would have been embarrassing had not one of you raised your hand. Oh, man. Whew. Had to call my managers.
But White Hawaiian is just, it's a marvelous piece of theater. For those of you who haven't seen it, have been under a rock for the last few years. It is an autobiographical show, but it's so much more than that. There's a history of Hawaii. There's Nisei Vets in that, in White Hawaiian as well.
Yes.
You got some newsreel footage of Hawaii history, and more specifically, the history of the performing Gillioms, which began several generations ago. You want to give a little capsule description?
Yes. Well, maybe not for you guys because you've seen it, but for the people out there that are on their way to Maui to come and see White Hawaiian, which is playing at the Pro Arts Theater. You can go to whitehawaiian.com for more tickets and information. But it is an autobiographical piece that was written by myself and my wonderful brother, classmate, Brian Cohn, who is also a Baldwin Bears graduate. And we embarked on this journey to write a one-man show. I was inspired by a great New York actor by the name of John Leguizamo, who did a whole bunch of he did 5 one-man shows in New York City that were extremely successful, and they were all autobiographical. And having done a 2-man show with my friend Tim Wolf, Greater Tuna, back in 1990 or 91, and it was also an inspiration to want to do something of this nature. So in 2018, Brian Cohn and I set out to write the show, and the first challenge we had was we just had way too much material. We had way too many stories, and we had to figure out how to create a story out of all of this wonderful material that is largely about my family and about growing up in Hawaii and being a white Hawaiian. I have Hawaiian blood. My great grandmother from Molokai was pure Hawaiian, and so that got me into into the being a Hawaiian club. But I certainly don't look Hawaiian. I'm far from looking Hawaiian as a kid. So my whole life, I grew up in a Hawaiian home. My dad loved Hawaiian food. We grew up here. I grew up here in the island of Maui. I grew up in Kihei. And my grandmother, my famous grandmother, Jenny Napua Wood, she spoke Hawaiian. I thought I was a Hawaiian until I got to elementary school at Kihei School. And the first time that I won't say her name because I don't want to make her ashamed, but she said, "All you kids in here that are Hawaiian, raise your hand." And as I say in the show, she smacked me in the back of the head with my own ruler because she thought I was making fun. And then that was the first time I was like, oh, maybe I'm not Hawaiian. And so I went home and I told my Hawaiian grandmother, "Grandma, I was in school and then they said, raise your hand if you're Hawaiian." And so I raised my hand, and then she didn't give me the paper to go to Kamehameha school. And my grandmother said, "Bam, come on, grab me by the hand." And we went back to the school, and she was like, "Arr!" She like told her off. And so from that moment on, I was a Hawaiian. But then I had the same problem when I got to Baldwin High School. Same thing. I was like, I just couldn't win. So Brian and I decided to use that as the vehicle or the catalyst to write this story, White Hawaiian, and we had a lot of fun writing it. And so I get to tell my story in this show, and I get to tell, it's not just my story, but it is a story about the history of Hawaii. You get to see Hawaii go through the changes starting at the turn of the century in 1902, when my great grandfather, who was a barefisted boxer in San Francisco, was shanghaied on a boat, and he ended up in Kahului Harbor. Not by choice, and my great grandmother had paddled a canoe from Molokai, and they met in Kahului Harbor, and that's where the story begins. And so it goes through this wonderful tapestry and history of Hawaii all the way up to about when I graduated from Baldwin High School, and I did graduate, almost didn't. Never forget that. I was in trouble. For something, but yeah, and then I got to high school and had a one of the greatest experiences of my life with Miss Sue Ann Loudon here. Bravo. I mean, literally changed my life, because it was, as you will see, I think I'm just telling the whole show. Come see the show. What's that?
Both of you guys teachers.
Yes, and Kathy also being a Sue Ann Loudon alumni, and so yeah, I don't know if I probably went off on something there, but yeah, White Hawaiian is it's a lot of fun, and I would invite you to come see it. It runs. Now I'm going to do a plug. It runs the third weekend of every month at the Pro Arts Theater here in Kihei, and it starts to run on Kauai every Thursday starting in 2 weeks.
Every Thursday?
Every Thursday.
You're flying over to, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And you should know, if you haven't seen it, this is not an hour and a half monologue. I mean, it's a one-man show, but Eric plays everybody in his family, from his great-grandpa, his great-grandma, his grandma, his dad, his mom, his sister.
Much to her dismay, I do my best to play my sister, my very talented sister, Amy Hanaya. But it's all in good fun, and 98% of the story is actually true. We embellished on a few things, only the boring parts.
Yeah. It is a marvelous show. And as you pointed out, and Linda did too, I know that you have often credited the same woman that I credit for my career, Sue Ann Loudon. She put the grease paint in my blood back in high school. And the reason I got into radio was because when I graduated in the mid-70s, I couldn't imagine trying to make it in a field that was dominated by white people, not just white Hawaiians, but you know.
Hey, you said white people, you look at me. Whoa. Just establish something. Yeah.
Well, you know, mid-70s, you never saw any Asians, little, 5 foot tall Asians on screen or stage. But when you graduated, you went off to theater school.
Yeah, I followed another Baldwin thespian, Shirley Hall, who had gone away to the city of Chicago, and she got accepted to the Goodman School of Drama, and she had been telling me about it, and I flew there and auditioned, and I got accepted, and which was terrifying because, I'd never been east of California, and all of a sudden this local boy who grew up in Kihei, went to Baldwin High School. I mean, Honolulu was a long ways away, but all of a sudden I'm in Chicago, and I went and auditioned at the school, and I got accepted, and Chicago was an amazing experience for me, and being around, it was really, I mean, actually, the truth be told, thanks to Sue Ann Loudon, I was overqualified for this school. And I say that honestly because it was, as soon as I got to this college, this performing arts center school with all these other students from all over the place. And so right away, they were like, you had to go through all the different departments in theater. So you understood theater from every possible angle. So you had to go do lighting. And I was like, I already did that. I already knew how to do that. And then you had to go and build sets, and I could do that. And basically everything they sent me to, but they were like, how do you know all this? Like, I grew up under Sue Ann Loudon. I mean, you see those nails right there? We would have to straighten those nails. You don't throw those nails out. So I did truly, honestly, it was one of the things that made me sail through this program so well. I'd like to think that it was because of my acting skills as well. which is ultimately why I was there. But I had such a well-rounded education, and I could do anything. I could sew a hoop skirt. I could, I could build sets and hang lights and it didn't matter what it was, because that's ultimately for me under her, direction. I just was hungry, and she just kept feeding me anything I wanted to do. I was obsessed with doing theater. I just loved that was my home. That was my tribe. They were my people. I mean, I think you're going to ask a question about growing up here. Growing up in the beginning, like, as a kid, it was amazing because mom and dad, came here in 1971, and my dad, being a Hawaiian, hadn't been here since he was a really little boy. And so I got this beautiful childhood growing up in Kihei. It was like going to Kihei school. PE was on the beach, and it was just an amazing time to be in Hawaii, to be on Maui. It was just so awesome. And we'd go play in Kalama Park until like I was like 8 years old. We'd be down there till 10 at night. Mom and dad, we never, it was just such an amazing place to grow up. Then when I got to high school, I was intimidated at first because I was like hanging out with guys with mustaches and stuff. And I was like, I was, local boys, big brothers, I was like, it was scary for me at first. But then as soon as I found the drum room with Miss Nada, she pulled me in, she threw me on stage. I was just like, I'm home. And so I was so obsessed, and she will tell you, I lived in the drum room. I'm not kidding you. Like, I full on, like, anytime, like, I'm probably confessing some things that I should have told you back then. But I slept in the costume room all the time. I would sleep in there. I'd go find costumes and put them down in the corner and wait till everybody leaves. Okay, bye, Miss Salter. You got to lock up and make sure you close the windows. I'm like, okay. I go in the back and I'd sleep in there and wake up, and I'd already be at school. So it was a life-changing experience for me. It was what gave me, not only and it wasn't just about theater, because the skills I learned were life skills. I just built a beautiful breakfast nook in my house because I know how to do that, because she made me build sets. And I built this beautiful, I do all my own electrical. I can do all my own stuff. I feel very empowered with the skill sets that I learned under your amazing, not just direction, but protection. So,
that's very nice. Yeah. And sewing, you make your own costumes.
To a point. I do know my limitations. But yeah, I own a sewing machine. Proud of it. I sew. And my girlfriend right now she just sees me like I just do the most random things. I'm over like, I'm like, what are you making? I'm making a dress for my show. Like, really? Yeah. So these have been, not just theater related skills, but life skills.
Life skills.
No.
Did you always have performance in your blood? I mean, you grew up.
What do you think?
Knowing your dad. Eric's father, bless his heart, Lloyd Gilliom. How long has he been gone now?
14 years.
Wow. Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Oh my. Well, Lloyd Gilliom was he was such a joy to be around. And I guess he started coming around the Baldwin Drama Room when you and Amy were students. And
then he never left when we left. Just kept going. I mean, we'd come back from college, and my dad would be like, where are you going, Daddy? Because I got a show tonight. What are you doing? I'm doing the Diamond Little Show up at Baldwin High School. Yeah, so we would go see my dad dressed up as either Santa Claus or as a sumo wrestler, which he loved. Didn't he do some of that with you?
I did. I got to.
And he thought he was so clever. My dad would come up with, he would do shows up at the Baldwin High School Drama Guild, because that was Broadway to him. He would sandblast all day, and then we'd go up there and do do shows, and one of his favorite characters he came up with was he and the great Herman Goldman, who were this because they were like Laurel and Hardy, right? My dad was like really big, and Herman was this little shrimpy dude. And his character, they did a sumo wrestling thing, and he came up with, like it me so sue me. He thought he was so clever. You remember that? Like it me so sue me. He'd laugh about that. Driving around. Yeah, I'm as good as you are, son. Okay.
Oh, it was marvelous. And then, of course, everybody knows your sister Amy has gone on to do incredible things. Another Baldwin.
Which she all learned all of it from me.
That's right. Your older brother, Timmy, he was never in drama, though, was he?
Not formally, but he is by far the funniest character in our family, but extremely shy. Unless you get a 6-pack of beer in it.
I wouldn't describe him as shy.
But yeah, my brother, he didn't want anything to do with, because my dad, of course, wanted to be in shows with us. My mom, she was kind of in the back. She's like, I don't want to do any of that. My brother too. He was a surfer and a waterman, and he eventually got hooked up with the Hokulea crew and became part of the Hokulea Ohana, and his sailed Hokulea all around the world. He built his own canoe, the Mo'ukiha Opi Ilani, which is in Lahaina. It's on the water now. Yeah,
it's just marvelous how all three of you became so successful here. I know both your parents were extremely proud of all three of you.
Yeah, my brother was back to him. He's a funny dude. He would because being in theater and everything I do, I always dress kind of kooky and wear hats and fancy shoes and whatever. I like fashion and stuff. My brother's like slippers, board shorts, surfer boy. Want nothing to do with that. But every once in a while, I go in my closet. I go, oh, where's my really fancy red shiny shoes? And then my brother would have stolen them, and so he would steal my clothes and but he would he'd make fun of me first, like what's with all the
But
then he would steal my clothes and wear them. So I think he's a closet thespian. Oh, he would kill me for saying that. Probably will.
Was it in Chicago that you met your very famous roommate?
Ooh, Jamie?
Yeah.
Oh, no. So Amy's 4 years younger than me, and my sister was going to school at a performing arts school in San Diego. And so I graduated college in '85. I went to Los Angeles to live with some other Baldwin High School thespians, Greg Poirier and Billy Cohn, and we were all just trying to find our way through life and be in this industry. And I was living in Los Angeles in whatever it was, 86, 87, and my sister calls me up and she says, she's gonna kill me for saying this. So she goes, "Don't tell mom and dad, but I'm dating a black man." Of course, my response was like, "Cool." And it was Jamie Foxx. Before he was Jamie Foxx. His real name is Eric Bishop. And so that's how I met Jamie. And then they came up to Los Angeles and we all kind of hung out. And then I came back in 1989. And shortly thereafter, I did a show with Tim Wolf. And then as the first time I did the Rocky Horror Show was in, I think 92. And Jamie Foxx came back and we did a show at the EO Theater called One on One with, it was my sister and I kind of performing together for the first time. She went to performing arts school and I did too. And so we were doing this kind of like MTV kind of hip kind of thing. And Jamie opened the show for us. And it was the first time he ever did stand-up comedy at the EO Theater. And Jamie Foxx came out there. He didn't have any material, but the only thing he had was he thought Hawaiian names of streets were funny. So he did the whole 10-minute routine about pu'unene, pu'unene. And so and it was hysterical. And it was the first time Jamie Foxx had done stand-up comedy, was at the Yale Theater in 1991. And then, of course, his career didn't go very well. And we've stayed friends since. Jamie actually brought his grandmother out who raised him. And we have some great photographs of my Hawaiian grandmother and Jamie's grandmother sitting in our yard, right there. Our house was just 100 yards from here, and talking story and hanging out. And so Jamie became a part of our family, and we've been close ever since. We stayed close.
Well, I remember he came to Maui. Gosh, it must have been like 2008, 9, something like that. And there was a show out in Ka'anapali, and I went, and a bunch of us went, and you introduced us. But what I loved was he talked about visiting and staying with the Gillioms and getting hooked on Kewpies.
Here's what's funny. Well, he calls it cuppies. He calls it cuppies. And to this day, at Christmas time, he will text me and say, "Can you send me some breaded teriyaki from Cuppies?" And so we go over there, we order it, we freeze it, and I ship it to him every Christmas.
Oh.
I know. He just last Christmas he came out, and it's the first time I ever played pickleball. He invited me to play pickleball. We played at the Four Seasons. It was pretty cool because I play at the Four Seasons on Monday nights. So if anybody wants to come, I play there. I've been there for a while now. And so Jamie came into town, and I showed up. I pulled up to the front of the Four Seasons in a limo with Jamie, and they were like, "Oh, are you?" No autographs, please. But we ended up playing pickleball for the first time.
Did you take the limo to Cuppies?
We did. That was the first thing he did. The next day, he said, "Hey man, can we go to Cuppies, man?" He came here with his daughter and 15 of her best friends. And, we had a good time.
That's true. So you mentioned being at the Four Seasons until you did White Hawaiian, and then it got its residency run at Pro Arts. I think a lot of people only thought of you as a singer and musician, and
which is ironic because I didn't become a musician until like 2005.
But you had your band. You did a couple of.
Oh, we did that. But I mean, I was like a singer in a band, but being identified as a musician, I have to give that credit to Barry Flanagan of the group Papa. I was in Los Angeles. I just done a spinoff of In Living Color, the TV show that Jamie was discovered on, and he called me up one day, as he would typically do. Was, "Hey, E, what are you doing?" I'm like, just walking on the beach. He's like, "I need you to come to LA because I'm doing a spinoff of In Living Color. I want you to be the white dude."
The white
I'm like,
dude.
"Great, here we go again, being a white dude." Typecasting. So I jumped on a plane, went to LA, and we shot a pilot for a show that he wanted to call These Nuts. But Warner Brothers said, "We can't call it that." So they called it the Jamie Foxx Variety Show. And so we shot the pilot for the whole thing, and we were just about ready to I signed a 32 episode deal with Warner Brothers, and then Jamie won the Oscar for Ray. And that changed everything because suddenly he's no longer going to bother with TV because he's making $20 million a movie now doing film. So that all just poof. So I was like, wait a minute. So back on the beach, walking again. And wait, what was the question? What were we talking about? You got to watch me, man. I
know. I went right along with you.
We're talking about Jamie. Talking about pickleball.
Barry Flanagan.
Oh, so then I was coming back from that trip, and I ran into Barry Flanagan or the group Papa. I don't know if you guys know that group, but pretty famous group, amazingly talented one of Hawaii's great singer-songwriters. And he said, "Hey man, why don't we play some music together?" I'm like, "Well, I kind of play guitar, but I don't play guitar." And so I was like, "Okay." And so we got together, and he had just broken up with Keli'i Kanialii. They had gone their separate ways after all their success. And then he said, a white guy from New Jersey says, "I'm going to teach you how to play and sing Hawaiian music." I was like, "Oh, okay." And so we went up to EL Valley. We went up into all the different huts up there. We went into the Hawaiian up there. We were up there for 6 months. We were up there 3 times a week, and we sat there. I was playing the 12-string guitar, and he taught me literally all the Hawaiian music I know how to sing today, and how to play guitar. And so I was like, then that just became another thing that I do. And I wasn't intending to set out to do that. It just all of a sudden that was happening. And then he and I were doing a dinner show at Mulligan's on the Blue. And I'm up there playing, and we're doing our thing, and it sounds good. And I look in the audience, and there's Mick Fleetwood and Steven Tyler sitting there, and they come to watch our show. And I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." And so we do the song, finish the show. And then Mick Fleetwood we're doing an autograph line, standing in line to get it. I don't know why he's standing in line. He's Mick Fleetwood. He's 6'8", super tall guy. And then we're filling out CDs and go, "Oh, thank you, aloha." And I'm like, "Dude, Mick Fleetwood's standing right there in line. He's gonna." And so all of a sudden Mick comes up and he says, "Hello, Eric. I'm putting a new band together, and I wonder if you'd be interested in coming up and maybe singing a few songs and just see what happens." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Okay." And so I went up to Mick's house, and that he was putting a band together called the House of Rumors Band. The Island Rumors Band then, but he was putting a band together to be another band other than Fleetwood Mac. And then he hired me to be the front man of that band. That was 16 years ago. So I've been doing that gig. So it's just been a weird journey of just like, then that happened. And then back in 2007, I went on tour with my sister and Willie K. They were at the peak of their thing. And we went on this big tour, and I got to open for them, opening for my sister. Whatever. So I'm out there opening for my little sister, who I taught you everything you know. So I'm doing my thing, and then Willie came out one night in the middle of, I'm out there doing my thing, and Willie just walked out, and he just started playing with me. I was like, oh, okay. And all of a sudden, Willie and I were playing together, and shortly thereafter, my sister wanted to move on and do her own solo thing. She was like, "You can have him." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Literally. I was like, and Willie was like, typical Willie fashion. Loved Willie. He's like, "Hey, Bob, we gotta do a record." I was like, "Oh, okay." And so we did the first Barefoot Natives record together, and we hooked up with Brian Cohn again, and Brian had come back, and then the Barefoot Natives were giving birth out of that whole epoch. And then we shot the movie Get a Job. You and my girlfriend, who's sitting over here. This is my girlfriend. Her birthday is next month, and she's going to be 98. Played my girlfriend in the movie Get a Job.
Yes.
And
my mom.
Yes.
It was difficult watching you guys shoot the kissing scene.
I know. I gotta tell you, she's got some chops, man. Good. But so it's all been such a weird journey. It's all just been, I didn't plan any of this. So
wow. Well, you've certainly fallen into a number of very fortunate situations. You may not have planned it, but you certainly earned it, I think.
I think if I had to attribute one of the things that I feel is part of my success, is it's always just being extremely professional. Show up on time, never miss a cue, give 100%. I'd like to think talent has something to do with it too, but it's amazing in the industry, not just the entertainment industry, but just being professional is a huge thing, which you don't see a lot of today. People, There's just not a lot of that going on. And I don't, in fact, I'm kind of OCD about it. If I say I'm going to be there at a certain time, I'm always on time. I am never late. I never miss a cue. I'm always, I don't know if it's just because it's my passion, but it's just, I feel like that's because I've been on the other side of it too, as a producer, as somebody who's a director, or on the side. And it's hard to get things done when people don't show up on time, or they flake out, or they do whatever. So I think that's been a big part of my success. It's just being professional. You know, I don't know.
Do you think you learned that at Baldwin also?
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you. So there's a lot of, you've no idea how much came out of you to me. My OCD thing is like, I am, I'm super OCD about being organized. Like, if you come to my house, like, okay, this is like, this guy's something wrong with this guy. But it all comes from, there was a specific moment that happened during a show called Barefoot in the Park, and Greg Poirier was the lead of the show. And it was a show that I was doing lighting for the show. So I was all puffing along. This is going to be the best lighting ever. So I'm climbing around the rafters up at Baldwin High School, and I'm just, I'm doing this whole thing, and I get everything that's all, I'm running lights for the show, and I'm showing Miss Loudon like I want to be her, her star pupil, man. And I'm, doing the thing. And at one point in the show, there was like one light that was like the main light for the end of the show was out. And she was like, you got to fix it. You got to fix it. We'll find out where the problem is. And I looked behind where the lights were, and there was a spaghetti mess of just cords. And I was like, ah! And I'm trying to find the thing. It was intermission. I'm like, I can't find it. And I can't remember how it resolved. I think I fixed it. I don't know what I did. I think I climbed up and climbed over the rafters, like over the audience. People were like watching me, like, what's going on here? But what I got from that was, I will never have a mess of cords again. I mean, I am like, everything is labeled, everything is like perfect, but it's been something. I mean, literally, that was like, she was like, okay. And it was, just one of the many things that came out of those great times.
I think you're pretty unique as a performer of such great talent. And we all have to have ego to be in this business, but yours is kept in check, and you do all the grunt work. I mean, you're willing to do all the grunt work that most other stars would have people for, or hire people to do this or that. But you're willing to just get down in there, down and dirty, and
that's because they can't do it as good as me.
Well, because you're so professional.
To be honest with you, it's because it's a control thing, because I want things to work. I want, when you flip that switch, the light has to go on. When you everything just has to work. And I don't know, it's part of being a perfectionist. And I'm willing to, let go of things to people that I feel can do it better than me. And I love to surround myself with people that can do it better than me. But I think, like when you work at a high level in the industry, whether you're being on Broadway or playing in a band with Mick Fleetwood, or there's very little margin for error. Like, you need to deliver, it needs to work every time. So that whole willingness to get down there and do it really just comes from making sure I know it's going to work.
Yeah,
I know what it's going to do. So that's about.
I don't know if you remember this, but when you and Willie were performing as the Barefoot Natives, and I was your MC, Barefoot Tira, we did a show at the Mac in the amphitheater, and it was sponsored by the Bug Man or something.
Mhm.
So remember, we had the big fumigation tent as
Mhm.
curtains,
Mhm.
and I helped you build your Bugman costume.
Right.
It was the paper mache, this big. And I remember thinking at the time, and I told Brian, oh my gosh, Eric is so, because the stripes had to be just perfect. I remember you standing there and me using the duct tape to make the stripes, and you were like so particular because it had to look just like the little cartoon that was on their logo.
Yeah.
And wow.
Yeah. It's just, like I said,
But I had experience, same
happy.
as you, building
I'm happy
clown
that
shoes.
I would have gladly let you make the strides for me, but you weren't very good at it. So, I just had to take over. And, yeah. I think that, but to the humble thing too, I think, for me, the entertainers and successful actors and my heroes, are the ones that are profoundly humble people. Mick Fleetwood is an incredibly humble man, and he's the most humble rock star I've ever known. He's just so accessible and giving, and he's just a very patient person. And I've never been a fan of people with big egos. It's not attractive to me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And and being somebody who really understand. That's why I do those things that I do. I get down there and I build and I create and I create and I wire and I roll up my sleeves and I get down there, because at the end of the day, we're all the same. We're all just human beings. We're all, and so to me, whether it's a movie or it's a show, a live show, whatever, like everyone gets treated the same across the board. I don't care how you are part of this production. You are every bit as important as the star of the show, and that's it. Certainly makes life more fun to be like that. My dad was like that. Everybody loved my dad. I mean, talk about a legacy, man. I mean, like, I can't go anywhere on this island, and I mean the most random places, from the mayor to the sewer treatment plant. Like, oh, your dad, man. Oh, your dad drove to Hana and towed my car. He left a real legacy of somebody who was just a good man. So
He certainly was generous and
Yeah.
and kind and
Yeah.
funny, like you said.
So fun. Oh my God. That was ridiculously funny. He was so funny. We wrote a show about him called White Hawaiian. Because ultimately the show is really about my dad. The show it's the White Hawaiian in the context of the story is really my dad. He was a White Hawaiian. He's, born in New York City. His mother, my grandmother, was a famous Hawaiian entertainer who was just, trying to survive in the 40s and the 50s. It was rough. My grandmother never drove a car a day in her life. She was married 5 times. How do you think that was for my dad? And he was towed around the United States, and but when he met my mom, he was 17. My mom was 18, and like that was my dad's first opportunity to tell my grandma hi. And he bolted from that whole scene and had us and raised some kids and brought us here. Maui was an unbelievable place to grow. I mean, and I didn't really realize that until I started getting my okole kicked out there in the real world. And I was like, when I left to go to college, 18 years old, I was like, I like Maui. Maui sucks. Every kid doesn't like where they live, where they come from. So I left Maui. I came home when I was in my early 20s. I was, yeah, Maui's okay. But I was like, bright lights, big city, and then, I got in my 30s. I came home. Maui's actually pretty cool, that's okay. And I got in my 40s. I was like, I like Maui. Maui's cool. man, when I hit 50, I was like, I ain't ever leaving. I mean, so because Maui's going through some rough times. Hawaii's going through some rough times, but the world's going through some rough times. And this is an amazing place to be during these rough times. It's a pretty special place. And there's still, I mean, this room is a great example of just community, just people that care. And Hawaii is always going to be that special place. It's a melting pot that has people from all over the world that come here, and we get along for the most part. We do pretty good. So and I'm happy to be home. I finally got my little piece of the rock. And it'll always be my home. It's a great place to come home to go out into the world and travel and go do things and go see things. Then you tell people when you're wherever you are, you're going, well, where are you going? I'm going home. Well, where's that? Maui. And they're like, what? You live on Maui? And I go, yeah, that's where I live. So I don't think that'll ever change.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You don't have children of your own.
That I know of.
But I'm sure by now you would have.
I swear there's going to be. Right now we're talking about a sequel to the movie Get a Job. Anybody see the movie Get a Job? You guys know? Okay, so we're talking about a sequel. The sequel is awesome. The sequel is, I'll give you the rough outline. So in the movie Get a Job that I shot with Uncle Willie K back in 2010, Uncle Willie K plays an employment agent who has to find a job for the most unemployable human on planet Earth, which is me. And so, yeah. And then of course we've lost Uncle Willie K. So the new version opens up with at Uncle's funeral, and absolute mayhem breaks out there, and it actually turns out to be quite funny, which Willie would appreciate. But then, Merton gets the knock on the door, and it's his child. So Merton, a child himself, has to raise this child, and just makes me laugh because I'm thinking to myself, one of these days. So anyway, you were gonna say about children?
The more successful.
Wait, and I mean, people ask me, why don't you have children? My response is always, because I'm too busy being one.
Yeah, there you go. But what I was gonna say is that you obviously take a lot of pride and put a lot of attention toward your niece.
My niece, my beautiful niece. So my mom and dad got one grandchild, and her name is Madeline Ualea Okamahina Kehu Austin. She's beautiful. She's now just turned 17. And so, we're starting to have like a real relationship now, I'm just not like the weird uncle who dresses up in women's clothes. But yeah, she said to me the other day, I tried to be like a good uncle, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna do something really cool. I'm gonna give my niece a car. That's a big deal. Anybody else get a car? I didn't get no car. So I'm gonna do uncle thing, and I sit her down. I go, Maddie, it's at about that time you're gonna start driving, and I just want you to know how much Uncle loves you, and I'm gonna give you my car. And her response was, oh, Uncle, I don't like the color red. Pause, and I was like, okay, cool. And I didn't say anything. About 3 weeks later, she got her learner's permit. Uncle, I love the color red. Okay. So that niece, yeah, she's gonna get my car. Yeah, she's amazing. She's a sweet human being. My sister's done a great job raising her, and she's got a level head, and she's she went to Emmanuel Lutheran School, which made my mother so happy. And she's going to Maui High. She's doing okay. She's doing great. She's a wonderful person. I think she's going to come out okay.
I have no doubt.
And driving around in her red car.
In a red car. From Uncle Eric. That's sweet. Your family life, not just as portrayed in White Hawaiian, but from what I've been fortunate to observe, as you know, the outer circles of the whole Baldwin Ohana, is it's like it's idyllic. I mean,
It's what?
idyllic. It's
Okay.
just beautiful.
Mhm.
Both of your parents, we talked about how generous and kind your dad was, but your mother as well. And I remember a number of times, you know, I mean, they would just welcome everybody into that house right up the street here and feed us. And
Yeah,
I'm sure-
mom's my favorite character to play in the show. 'Cause my mom was just she was just such a character. And she had all of these, I call them Mimiisms, oh, for Pete's sake. Oh, for crying out loud. And it wasn't until I got older, I was like, what does that mean? Like, who's Pete? And crying out loud, so I never really got those, but we worked a bunch of those into the show. My mom was an amazingly sweet woman. She came from great stock from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And, just good old sweet Midwestern folk. Her parents were really sweet people. And yeah, she was just amazingly supportive from the sidelines. Mom was just like, the first one to jump in the box office to sell tickets or make popcorn or, I know they had a great time with us. They really did. It was a little short for me. Mom just died now 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. So, but I know that they had a wonderful life with us growing up here in Maui, and mom and dad's dynamic was funny because mom really ruled the roost. My mom was really, she was very sweet and docile, and just seemingly like, and of course, any company came over. I mean, it was a red carpet, and the hostess with the mostest. But if you pissed my mom off, woo, she had a side of her that was just like, you want to see my dad shrink down to this little guy. My mom could do it in a heartbeat. She's wonderful, wonderful. And I love playing her in the show. You meet my mom when they first arrive on Maui, and mom is at the Maui airport. She's walking out, and we arrived here, and mom had a 60s beehive wig. My mom wore all these crazy wigs. And the wig was like, of course, back in those days, you had to walk off the plane onto the tarmac. And so the beehive's like, inside. She says, oh my gosh, my hair's a wreck from walking on the dang tarmac. She just had she was just such a great character. She was funny and had a great laugh. And yeah, they were fun parents to have, great parents to have.
Well, I had the great pleasure of sitting next to her. The first time when you did White Hawaiian at the Mac in McCoy, but also at Mulligan. But the first time it was just hilarious. I mean, I was sitting right next to her. And when every time you'd come on as her, she would just like, oh, oh.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And of course, after the show, because we took a lot of artistic liberty in the show. My mom, after the show, she said, I didn't say it like that. I'm like, yeah, you did. You did, Mom. Oh, for Pete's sake. You can't say that to people. I didn't say it like that. I'm not making you. You wrote it.
But she was beaming with pride.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she was fun. Fun woman.
So if you weren't Eric Gilliom, actor, musician, singer, producer, performer, all of that, what would you be doing? What would you want to be doing?
I would be either I love civil engineering. Well, because I'm OCD. And I'm like, I drive around Maui all the time, and I'm going, why? Is it really? So I know I find civil engineering. Of course, I'm a huge advocate of science. I'd be in some branch of science and technology. I love architecture. I love building things. I really do love building things. I love making, things with my hands. So I don't know. I definitely would not be a sandblaster.
Yeah.
That would be out. But something like that, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking about those things. I don't know how long I can keep, prancing around in a dress. That's getting hard.
White Hawaiian is a physically demanding show.
Unbelievably so.
You have all these costume changes.
36.
And I don't want to be spoiler, but he does this entire segment of Broadway tunes on roller skates. And you actually skate around. It's amazing to me that you can sing as beautifully as you do with all of that physical activity.
I'm just hoofing it, man. I'm just out there trying to make a living, people. When we wrote that section in the show, it's kind of my way of kind of poking fun at some of that stuff, because I love doing some of the musical theater stuff we did in high school, but some of it now I look back on it and I'm like, that's kind of gay. Not in like gay, but just in the gay Paris kind of gay. Like, so anyway, it's a fun moment in the show to poke fun at that kind of stuff. But yes, it is every single night, as I did last night, and I will do tonight, when I'm putting on the roller skates, I always say to myself, what was I thinking? So hard. Out there.
Seemed like a good idea at the time.
But the minute I get out there, and ultimately too, the other thing about the show that is one of the great joys I have in my life, maybe it's worth wrapping this up, is I just love to make people laugh. I do. There needs to be more laughter and joy in the world, so I feel like that's my gift. That's what I do. I just go out there and just, if I got to put on a dress or roller skates or whatever it is, or lingerie in the case of Rocky Horror, I'll do it. It's just to put smiles on people's faces and to give them just a break from the humdrum of life. Life is now I'm staring at 60. Starting to look around and kind of go, man, I get it. Life's hard. Life can be hard. Life can be not friendly. So I don't know, just to create laughter and music in the world just seems like a good choice.
Well, you do it beautifully, and you do that and much more. We've eaten up almost all of the question time, but I think we have time for maybe one. Do we have any online questions or? Okay, because we've got.
What do you do when you have to stop?
What am I going to do when I have to stop?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was just saying. I'm either going to I don't know. I don't know. I'll probably end up working at the sewer treatment plant. Just,
but not sandblasting.
In the Lloyd department. No, I don't know. I don't know. I'd love to, you know what? I'd love to just have my own workshop and just make stuff. That'd be fun for me.
Well, there you go.
Make furniture.
Sell it to Etsy or something. Any other questions?
You ever gonna find any relatives? Know your Hawaiian middle name?
Now, see,
that's
there's somebody that's seen the show.
Yeah, that's a big thing in the show, is that all of my siblings got Hawaiian names, but no one can remember what Eric's Hawaiian name is. And no, I don't know. I mean, we could make something up, I suppose, but that would be kind of like not true. Oh yeah, my name is Alika. Oh really? Who gave you that name? Oh, I was at the license place in the ABC store. Because my sister and my brother all have like, Hanayali'i. It's like, ooh, that's like, ooh, oh man, I got nothing. My middle name is Paul.
Hanayali'i, was that a family name? Your
My
grandmother.
great grandmother's name was Hanayali'i Ka'ahanui. And yeah, that was her first name. So my grandmother gave Amy, said, you know what, you need to take the name Hanai. That's where that name came from. Yeah.
Your grandmother also performed with the Baldwin
Famously
High
so, yes.
Club.
At The Baldwin Theater, my grandmother performed with you guys. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah?
she sure
Oh, she
did.
did some stuff.
I've never seen a professional listen like that.
Yeah, she was something.
Old lady and daughter, she was really old. And Roy came up and said, "Would you like to have my mother perform?" And I thought, "Huh." I said, "Sure." And so they brought her up just at one of the rehearsals. They were really careful with her because it was so fragile, see me. She got up there on that stage and that music came on, it was bang. And
Right.
she was performing.
Papa,
It
yeah.
just was in her blood. And just the same way. He was in high school, my gosh, he wanted to do everything. And he worked the hardest I've ever seen anybody. He just was, he loved it. But can I say something?
You were a star pupil.
Over to this, we went over to us, Honolulu,
Oh,
because they would have these theater conferences. And so he was about 15. And we got into the gymnasium, and you're supposed to stay with your group. I said, "I'll stay with my kids." And as soon as he got there, we got the table signed in, he was gone. And I thought, "Oh no," and he went clear around the whole thing, and he came right back to me. And he had such joy. And he says, "Oh, Miss Love, thank you, thank you, thank you." I said, "For what?" He said, "Girls everywhere."
Yeah. 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 You remember that part we were talking about earlier about the knock on the door?
Thank you for sharing that story about it. Are there any other questions? Yes.
One of my favorite memories of you performing was at the Mac, and you had a jazz band, big band, and you guys were out there, and I never saw you again. You did it like one time, great jazz, fabulous stuff. Everybody was perfect, and we never saw it again. What's going on with that?
Well, we'll be coming back this weekend. I'm putting the jazz band together. I don't know. I don't even remember. It was probably the Eric Gilliom project. That band was around for a while. I mean, you don't win them all. I mean, sometimes, that's ultimately why I'm doing a one-man show, because I know there's one person I can rely on to show up. And there's not a whole lot of complexities to it. I mean, it's hard keeping a band together, really hard.
You did a CD with that band, though.
I
right?
did.
Yeah. I can just picture the cover.
Into
I
the
got
Mystic.
that. Yes.
Yes.
I have the CD if you want.
I can give you a CD, Larry, so you could at least have some fond memories.
And then you had like Chow Fun.
Yeah, a couple CDs out there. But,
Yeah.
yeah. Anybody else?
Why
Do
no?
you present to live right up the hill?
Yeah, they used to, right here on Waukesha Street.
Yeah.
No, they're both gone, and Amy's up in Wailuku. I'm in Kihei, and Timmy is on the ocean somewhere. Literally, he's sailing a sailboat from Tahiti to Maui right now. No, it's better that he's on the ocean because he doesn't do well on land. Not well at all.
Well, thank you so much, Eric. I wish we could sit here for another hour, but
But that's
we
it.
have, yeah, that's it. Up quite quickly, didn't it? We'll just have to do this again. But you got a show to do tonight.
I do.
Tonight and matinee tomorrow at Pro Arts Playhouse in Kihei. Go to whitehawaiian.com for tickets. And then Eric is in residency there once a month. It is the third weekend of the month.
Yes.
Each month
Mhm.
at Pro Arts for the next year or so.
Mhm.
Yeah. Or catch them on Kauai on Thursdays.
Mhm.
Where are you performing on Kauai?
It'll be at the Anainaho Performing Arts Center in Kilauea. There's a beautiful facility there that was just opened in 2019 and right before the pandemic, and then it shut down. And but now it's a beautiful facility. It's a kind of like the Maui Tropical Plantation. It's kind of like it's sprawling. They've got places to picnic, and they've got a miniature golf course, and they have a beautiful venue that the show is going to run in starting into to start every Thursday.
Well, good luck at the new venue.
Thank
Thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you to our wonderful audience. Our next Yakamashii is August 18th with Kumu Ulubehi Guerrero. So I hope you'll join us for that as well. And thank you all again for joining us. Big mahalo to Deidre and Melanie and the board and volunteers here at the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center. Do we still need to call to make appointments if you want to view the exhibits?
It helps.
Okay, it does help to call ahead, but you do want to drop by here every so often so you can take a look at the new exhibits and the beautiful Stanley Izumigawa Resource Center.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Hey,
Easy. Fast.
that was a rehearsal, right?
Yeah, right. Get 5